Welcome to Women in the Arena podcast, the podcast celebrating women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. I'm your host, Audra Egan, and our mission is to elevate the value, strength, and resilience each woman brings to the world. Without further delay, let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome in, everyone. I am so glad you're here. I am Audra Egan, your host of Women in the Arena podcast, where we celebrate women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. We have yet another remarkable woman here today that I can't wait for you to meet. Thanks for joining me, and let's start the show. Welcome in, everyone. I am so glad you're here. I have yet another fascinating woman that I want to introduce you to. Today is joining me LaWanna Bradford, and she is a remarkable woman, and she has a very, very busy life. She is a serial entrepreneur, and she is a global leader in the strategic planning and performance management arena. She's also a 3-time international best-selling author, public speaker, trainer, philanthropist, and artist. And she still makes time to do her gardening and make time for her family. I don't know how she does it, but she does it with grace. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce to you LaWanna Bradford. LaWanna, thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Audra, for having me. How are you doing?
I am great. In considering that we're making the best of a challenging situation in the middle of COVID and whatnot, we're doing the best with what we've got, and sometimes that's the best you can do. Which is, thank you, is a great lead-in to what we're going to talk about today. Thank you for the layup. In talking to you, you've led a very fascinating life, and you said that you've gone through a couple of things that helped you develop as an individual. And one of the things that we were going to talk about today is a pretty deep topic, but it's not one that any of us escape. I think that we have all been there. The topic that we're going to discuss today is when darkness falls, and when you find yourself in that sea of despair and you've got choices, and what are you going to do? So LaWanna, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about your journey through the sea of darkness and what you did to survive.
Sure. Well, not to protract the dark journey, but as you mentioned, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and one of the things as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for opportunities and just enjoying that creative space that entrepreneurs flow and flourish with ideas and with creativity and spontaneity when there's ease and flow. And I suddenly found myself smacked up against a wall. So ease and flow suddenly stopped when it came to my marriage failed. And I'm like, okay, that's one thing, but we can get over that. We can rebuild, right? And then 2007, 2008 economic crisis hit, and one of my businesses was a mortgage brokerage, which was hit tragically like everyone else. We did survive, so that's a good thing. But because of what we were in on the residential side, we had to quickly shift where we were in business and our focus in order to remain afloat. But in the meantime, my brother, who had gone into business with me, or I should say I went into business with him, he had all the licensing, and he decided, you know what? I need to get out while the getting is good. and I wish you all the best. Well, that didn't work well because, as I said, divorced. I'm the sole breadwinner now of my household, and now my brother, who has all the licensing, is gone. So it's like, okay, how do I eat? What do I need to do?
You've got a triple whammy here. So you have an economic crisis,
Yes.
your support system, meaning your brother said, I'm good. It's all you, sis. Good luck.
Yes.
And, and you are in the middle of a divorce. So that's a lot on your plate. That's a lot to say, okay, what's next?
Yes. It was traumatic, and having to quickly do what I needed to do to get my licensing and everything up to par. But in the meantime, things are still spiraling economically. And I ended up losing almost everything except for my home, and managed to still keep the doors of the business open. But I ended up, living on my savings, my 401k, just to survive. I'm like, I do not want to be homeless. And I thought, okay, LaWanna, you've got all this skills, the knowledge, experiences. You'll be able to get, if you got to go back into corporate for a while, you can do that. It'll be easy. Well, I couldn't even get a job. I was overqualified for everything I was applying for. And I thought, this is really sad. I mean, I was to the point where I said, I'm okay with even being a Walmart greeter. And there's nothing, I don't say that in any demeaning way against individuals that take those positions, but I was willing to do anything in order to keep a roof over my head. And that still didn't work.
I think that many of us found ourselves in that position where there was just nowhere to turn. There was nowhere to hide. And we were just trying to survive and
Yes,
figure out the best we could. That was a very, very difficult time.
it was. So I was piecing together income from, I decided to do tutoring. I did math tutoring for high school and elementary school students. Was able to do a few loans here and there. And then I found a company that did research marketing. And I had done that all as part of my former corporate life. So started to do that. And again, I'm thinking, okay, LaWanna, surely there's going to be a light at the end of this very, very dark tunnel. Well, the light, Audra, finally came about 3 years later. So imagine 3 years
Years.
painfully, going through this and trying to keep my joy factor up as best as I could. And the wonderful thing about all of this was when I did, when the light did shine, it was a beautiful rainbow, and pot of gold was at the other end. I ended up getting connected with one of the biggest consulting firms, and that's why I tell people all the time, your name, your reputation, your work ethic, it really precedes you. And it was because of someone had heard about me. They reached out to me and said, hey, we need your support to finish out the project. We're sorry, we don't have anything, that's going to be long-standing to offer you, but it's 3 months. I said, hey, 3 months is better than anything, and I like this money that I get for 3 months, so I'll take it. But the beauty in all of that, the 3 months turned into 3 years, which now is 11 years later.
That is a fantastic testament to keep going. But I know that those 3 years were not easy. I know that you were challenged at every single turn and trying to keep your spirits up. Um, During that period, that dark period of time, what did you go through? Was there some sort of an emotional transformation through that period? Because I don't know if anybody remembers how it felt. I certainly remember how it felt. Maybe many of you have blocked it out of your memory because it was so painful. But in that time, there was definitely reason to fall into darkness, but you chose not to. There's a quote that hangs in my office that says, in the middle of a dilemma is opportunity. And I think that you took advantage of that. But what did you find for yourself in those 3 years?
In those 3 years, I think I fought hard to keep and I'm using this term, emotional sanity, because it's so easy when everything is going left and you really want to go right to start to question yourself, to start to doubt, your self-worth. Um, there's the whys start to come up. You're looking around and it's like, okay, why did the tsunami decide to hit this side of the street and not, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I had to just get into a place of gratitude, which you hear people talk about, oh, gratitude is so easy. It's not when you're in the pit of despair. It
Yeah.
is really, really hard to lift your head up and say thank you. And I had to just start with the smallest of things, literally to say thank you for allowing me to even want to get out of bed today. Because many days I'm like, it feels really good to lay here with the covers over my head. And if I do get up, I'm going to have some pizza and just, have myself a fun fest, a pity party. It was pizza and Betty Davis movies. That was my drug of choice during those 3 years. I'm serious. And my friends, if they would call, they're like, "What are you doing?" And if I said I'm putting on Betty Davis, they're like, "Oh God, she's losing it."
She has lost her mind. But
Yes.
it was also how you maintained your sanity by one step at a time, one day at a time, one small gratitude at a time. When you found yourself taking those steps out of the darkness. Um, but what did it do for you personally? Meaning, uh, in the middle of all of that, it has been my experience that you have a couple of options in the middle of that despair. And you either find out where you're weak or you find out where you're strong. Did you have that experience as well, that you had an awakening, so to speak?
I you know how your parents will always say, "Oh, you come from a strong background, your legacy, your grandmother was stronger," whatever, when you hear it as a kid, it's like, okay, great, whatever. What does that really mean? And I realized, wow, there was something through all of my years of learning with my family, just even just people who've mentored me, that they planted seeds of, I guess, pillars within me.
Mm-hmm.
And those were what I was calling on during that time. Hearing those voices, like urging me to just keep going. Just get up. Just you can do this. And if you had told me a few years prior that I would have been going through that, I never would have believed it. And if you had told me that I would have been able to survive with the positive mindset, the energy that I have, and come out of it where I am now an encourager and an exhorter of women, I would have laughed and thought, well, who cares? Who cares about other women and what they're going through? I'm good. I had I think because my life had been so good and so blessed, I took that for granted, and almost offensively so. And I didn't see that until I went through the darkness and looked back. And I thought, wow, what arrogance, what cockiness. Where's the humility? Where is the grace in that, you're not entitled to all that you have. You're blessed to have it, but it's not an entitlement. And so I think and I believe God took me through this to just really humble me and strip me of that arrogance so that I could come out um, sharing a story of hope, sharing a story of encouragement, um, to help other people that are going through similar and or worse situations. And because of surviving the economic piece, I was also hit, and I talked about this prior to this interview. Uh, with a physical ailment. So I was diagnosed with cancer.
That's right. And you were forced to deal with this as well. But from what I recall when you were speaking to me previously, that because of your experience of this economic crisis all at once and giving you that perspective, it allowed you to face your cancer diagnosis with a whole different mindset.
Yes, totally different.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about how you were able to look at it from a positive point of view rather than something that would previously you would have thought that this is it, this is over, I can't handle it.
Well, when I was diagnosed, obviously you don't go in expecting to hear that you have cancer. But I remember telling a friend, going to him and saying, "This is what I'm dealing with. This is rare. I'm trying to figure it out." And he said, "Well, you only have two choices." And I looked at him like he had lost his mind. I'm like, "What do you mean two choices? I don't even know what it is yet." He said, "You have two choices. You have a choice to die living or to live dying. It's your choice." And
Wow.
that totally transformed me in an instant. You know, there's some things in life that will cause you to just metamorphosize into something different. I mean, instantly. And that was a transforming moment for me that I said, whoa, we all have a termination date. We don't want to talk about it, but we do. And I want to live life to the fullest. So no, I'm not going to, to die living. I'm going to live,
Yeah.
dying. And not saying that I have this, oh, LaWanna, this is going to take you out. I don't know what is, or we know none of us do. But because of that and everything I went through, suddenly life became that much sweeter. And I always was telling people, oh, life is happening now. Life is happening now. Well, really, yeah, life is truly happening now. Yesterday is gone. We can't do anything about that. Tomorrow, it's not promised. What we have is this moment, this time, breath to breath, step by step, thought by thought. And that is how I choose to now live. Just relishing and savoring the moment, even the darkness that comes periodically, because there's always ebbs and flows in life, but just savoring it for the beauty that it is.
So you are reveling in the joy that life is, and it is. I mean, you can't have pain without joy, because otherwise you wouldn't know the difference. But you have chosen to see the good rather than live in the negative and the bad and the darkness. How have you taken this new mindset, and how have you projected it towards other women that may have been going through something hard, terrible, a divorce, economic crisis, because your life has run the gamut and you've definitely hit all of the big ones.
Yes.
How have you taken that and given that to someone else to pass on, and maybe they can look at it, their perspective from a different point of view?
That's a great question. So I have founded a movement called Celebrate You, Women Embracing Wellness. And this movement is designed to help elevate women to be the best versions of themselves, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Because we know once all of those things are in order, or in as much harmony as they can be, I like to use the term harmony instead of balance, then that woman is able to elevate to the highest version of herself so that she can impact the lives of her family, the community, the nation, and the world. So I'm now on this mission to tell women, we can grovel and complain about what we don't have. But what about stopping and celebrating what we do have? What about stopping and celebrating the beauty that is you? Stop complaining about, oh, if I could just get rid of these saddlebags, or if I could, you are where you are. You are where you are. So love on that. And then transformation will start to happen. But when you're always looking at the negative, then you're never going to be pretty enough. You're never going to have enough money. Your family's never going to be right. But,
So
when you focus on the beauty, then that's what tends to be magnified more. And I believe you start to attract more of what you focus on.
I 100% agree with you, because you start to see more of what you want when you open up your mind and your heart to that, and see less of the stuff that you don't. Um, there are definitely some women out there that are listening and saying, you know what, but things are really hard right now. And you know what? They definitely are challenging. But if we break it down to the simplest of actions, what would you say is the very first step that anybody could do today to help start changing their perspective?
I think the first thing, outside of what I said about being grateful for the smallest of things, the things that money can't buy, whether it's family, whether it's your health, whether it's the love around you, that's the first start. And then I think looking at the resources that you have around you right now to meet your current need, your immediate need. Because oftentimes we tend to get frustrated and anxious for things that we do know we have a need for, but immediately we're good. If you really think about the now, I mean, really anchor yourself in the now, you're really good. You're really in a safe space. It may not feel that way because you're not looking at the now, you're looking at what if. And you're worried about tomorrow.
So how would women get involved in this movement that you've started?
Sure, they can. We're on Facebook, so they can find us on Celebrate You, Women Embracing Wellness. It's a public group, and just join in and participate, engage. We love to elevate and inspire and motivate each other, on all the different platforms that I mentioned, from financial to physical wellness, mental health. That's a big one right now because of everything that's going on. So there's a lot of dialogue on our page right now about how do you maintain that emotional and mental well-being. And it's okay to say I'm not okay.
Yeah, I've discovered that a lot of getting through is saying out loud, I'm not okay. This is hard, and I don't know what to do next. And you'll find, at least I have found, that many people will come alongside you and say, you're right, this is hard.
Yeah.
Let's take it step by step together. And how can we help you make a forward step? At least that's what I have found over the last 5 months that we've been going through this.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it's okay to say, this sucks. Like, I have a cousin right now who has been on the ventilator for 21 days.
Wow.
That's not a pretty picture. We're thankful that he's still here, but that sucks. Someone who was healthy, who did everything. Actually, he works in a hazmat suit. It's like, really? So there's anger, there's all of those emotions that you allow yourself to go through. But then you step back and say, but he's still here. There's still hope.
So you're taking that new perspective and really living it. Even in the darkest of times, you really are living that perspective.
Yes.
So my question for you is, before we get into the part of my conversation, which I have called the test time, my question for you is, would you consider your experience of going through the darkness, now being on the other side, would you consider it a gift or a curse?
A gift.
A gift.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I would agree with you. And the reason why I say that is because every time that I have come out on the other side of darkness, I like who I meet there, meaning myself. I've liked who I've become. I like who I've evolved to. And I acknowledge and am thankful that if I hadn't had the journey, I probably wouldn't be that person.
Exactly.
So that was thank you for that response, because I was hoping that I wasn't the only one that considered difficulty a gift, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time.
Yeah.
So thank you for being so open and vulnerable with that, because it's not easy to openly say, I've been through a really hard time, but I've gotten through the other side of it. So there is hope for those out there that may be experiencing this right now. There's probably quite a few of them. So thank you for that.
And I think about, like how you said, on the other side, if I hadn't gone through what I did, I wouldn't have the message that I have today to touch the thousands of lives that I'm touching on a daily basis. That's pretty profound.
Yes. And I would say that that is your gift forward, is helping to change their lives too, just as yours has been changed. And you never know what they might do. They might take that and pay it forward again.
Yes.
And that would be quite a legacy for you, and quite a legacy for all of us. I mean, I think that's what we want to do when we're here on this earth, is that we want to leave a little bit of ourselves behind that helped make this planet just a little bit better.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so I'm going to get to the test time. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so my first question on this quiz is, what are you currently reading?
What am I currently reading? I am reading Build a Business, Not a Job by David Finkel.
Ooh, Build a Business, Not a Job. That sounds fascinating, because don't we all want to have a business rather than a job? Because what is that saying? That if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life?
That's correct.
And it, from your joyous disposition, I'm willing to bet that you really enjoy what you do.
I do.
So everybody take note. So my second question for you is, what are you currently learning?
Oh, I am learning allowing. I'm learning about, we've got all the universal laws, and one of the universal laws is the law of allowing, really allowing people to be who they are, and not impose LaWanna's way on them, allowing them to express themselves, to bring their ideas, and to trust that it's good. I may do something different, but it's okay. It's the diversity of life that makes things that much more delicious. So I would say for me right now, it's pausing and just allowing, because I can be a pretty dominant personality, and it's easy to say, oh, okay, that's great, but let's do it this way. Or, oh, okay, that's great, but listen to this idea. And to sit back and just listen and go with the flow and say, I'm okay with this. I'll let you lead. I'll let you be. That's where I am right now.
You know what? That is a really good endeavor, because I think that if everybody took a little bit of that, then there probably wouldn't be as much strife on a regular basis for all of us in our nation and in our planet. If we all allowed each other just a little bit of grace,
Yes,
to be themselves, then we can appreciate each other for who we are and enjoy the differences as much as the similarities.
yes.
So my last question for you is, what's next?
What's next is I am currently in another collaborative book called The 31 Ways of Influence. And I will be writing 2 chapters from a business landscape. And this is based on the Proverbs 31 woman. So it's this woman that appears to be able to do everything and then some. But what it really speaks to is trusting and believing in the genius that God has planted in you, and allowing that to birth itself into the beautiful fruits that you were designed to bring to this earth. We are unique beings created for, I believe, divine purposes here in life, and that we can only touch certain people. Certain people are going to be attracted to us and our messages and what we're here to do and how we're here to serve. And so that particular book I will be writing from a business slant, taking it from women in business and how they can still make a difference and make an impact that goes beyond acquiring the dollar. So that's what's next, and that will be out the end of this year. So in 2020.
Wow. So you've got you've got quite a bit ahead of you, but what a wonderful endeavor to give that expertise and that perspective, point of view, to assist women to elevate themselves to their highest and best selves.
Yes.
So before I let you go, I want to give you an opportunity to get in a last thought to the audience, a last statement of encouragement and just a little bit of joy that you can all share with them.
Okay. Well, the one thing that I want to say to those that are listening is life is going to happen. There are going to be those tsunamic episodes that happen in our lives. We live long enough, we're going to face them. But I just encourage you all to believe that for such a time as this, or for such a time as whatever that challenge will have you face tomorrow, you have all that you need in you to not only overcome, but to rise above. And through those challenges, it will make you stronger. It will enable you to be that bridge for someone else who's going to cross that same lane of challenge that you cross. But because you paved the way, you're going to help lighten their load and show them how to avoid the stumbling blocks and find the stepping stones in life. So I just encourage you to keep your head up, to know that this too shall pass. And there is truly a light at the end of the tunnel if you just choose to look up.
Thank you for your transparency, and thank you for your gift of joy. I think right now that is needed now more than ever, which is one of the reasons why it was so important for me to talk to you, because speaking to you, you can feel the joy, you radiate it. And I'm hoping that the audience got a little bit of that gift. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine, and I'm looking forward to reading your next book.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me, and we'll see you again next time. That's our show. Before I let you go, I have some business that I need to get to. First, I want to thank my guests. I am continually awed at your generosity of spirit and the vulnerability that you continue to bring to our conversations. To you, my audience, you are incredible. Thank you for growing with me, and I hope that I continue to exceed your expectations. And to my team that helps me pull this off every single week. To our composer, Star Diva, who is amazingly talented. To Alan Bruckner, our graphic designer. Thank you for taking my crazy ideas and giving it life. To Savannah Boster, our social media manager. You do this so much better than I ever could. And last, but certainly not least, our producer, my number one son, Gavin Egan. Thank you for supporting your mom with her dream. I couldn't do this without you, kid. Please follow us on our socials at Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at arena_women. See you next week.
This is just the beginning.
That's our show. I am so grateful for each and every one of you and your unwavering support and your continued belief in this movement that has become much bigger than me, much bigger than just a podcast. It has become this forward momentum that we are all doing together. If you are ready, or you know somebody that is ready to tell your story and share your value with the world, please connect with me. You can reach me at audra@womeninthearena.net. I am so honored and thankful that you will share your story with me, and I'll make sure that it is well taken care of. I will never stop thanking each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next week as we share another woman's story and we celebrate her doing extraordinary things in plain sight. We'll see you next time.